This episode is presented by the Visit Cedar City Brian Head Tourism Bureau. Discover the art of adventure at Utah's gateway to the parks. Cedar City is within a few hours' drive from 6 different national parks and monuments, and only 30 minutes from fresh snow at Brian Head Resort. Check out visitcedarcity.com to plan your next trip. This episode is sponsored by the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center, dedicated to supporting local businesses and entrepreneurs. It provides resources and services aimed at fostering business creation, growth, and retention. The center features the Makerspace, where entrepreneurs and small businesses can have access to 3D printers, video production, and photography equipment, t-shirt printing, and more. Whether you're starting a new venture or looking to expand an existing one, the Cedar City Business and Innovation Center offers the tools and guidance to help you succeed. To learn more and get involved, visit innovationcenter.cc. Hello and welcome to another episode of Explore Local Podcast, presented by Visit Cedar City Brian Head in partnership with Cedar City Iron County Economic Development. This is produced by Dallas Smith Media, and I'm your host, David Johnson, Economic Development Director for Cedar City and Iron County. All right, today we're with Jaden Reardon, who's the co-owner of the pub Spirits and Craft Kitchen. They're on Center Street in our historic downtown area. Jaden, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you. So, Jane, why don't you just tell our audience in general, what is the pub?
Yeah, perfect. So the pub Spirits and Craft Kitchen, my husband, Barry, and I purchased it last May. So it's a fairly new endeavor for us. The pub, though, has been part of Cedar City's makeup and a local favorite for about 25 years. It opened its doors in 1999 as the pub, the pastry pub. There was a large focus on pastries, desserts, salads, being right up the street from the Utah Shakespeare Festival. People far and wide really loved it. Right. In 2021, it sold to Cole and Nikki Sharamonte and became the Pub Craft Kitchen. Cole was a chef. He took a little more of a culinary approach to the food. And then in October of 23, they approached Barry and I and said that they felt like we could really take it to the next level. They had to move out of town. And so I had been talking to Barry wanting to do a brunch spot. I felt like that was something that was kind of needed in our town.
Oh, yeah.
But Barry hated the idea of having to run a restaurant. He didn't want to have to be tied to it. Yeah. And so whenever I'd bring that up, he'd always say no. But I think he kind of caught the vision as well. Right. We both felt like we could turn it into something. And so in May of last year, May of 2024, we became the official owners and rebranded it as the Pub Spirits and Craft Kitchen.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's thank you for actually kind of diving into that little bit of history, because I wanted to actually cover some of that. Because I always hear people say, oh, I remember when it was the pastry pub. A lot of people still refer to it as a pastry pub. Mm-hmm. I've heard one of our county commissioners say, and I can't remember the name. He's like, I can't remember what it was. I remember in college when it was the roasted duck or something like that. I can't remember what.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
I know, but it's always played a big role as far as like, food and dining and kind of the synergy of the historic downtown area, from what I understand.
Absolutely. I remember it as a kid. It always had it has great memories for me. I remember going in and getting those signature cheese bagels with that herbal spread that everyone loves. And so I think everyone has those moments where they have those fond memories of the pub. When we took it over, we felt like the food was really incredible. That original pastry pub had a lot of charm. It was a little quirky, a little different, but it was fun and it was unique.
Yeah.
The Pub Spirits and Craft Kitchen, they brought the culinary approach, but some of that quirkiness kind of went away. It became more of a modernized kind of look. Mm-hmm. And so when we took it over, we felt like it kind of combined the best of both worlds. It has that quirkiness, it has that fun, unique atmosphere with that elevated dining experience.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you mentioned the quirky. And I guess I hadn't thought about it as quirky, but it is kind of a fun, quirky. In my mind, actually, coming to the podcast this morning, I thought it's got flair, and I'm like, but it's kind of like a refined flair, kind of. I don't know. What was the comparison you said people give you?
Yeah, absolutely.
With the decor and stuff.
So when we were designing it, when we were kind of creating our brand, our goal was to create a flamboyant take on an English pub. We have, if you've never been inside our restaurant, we have bronze busts of different animals, but instead of being like a real taxidermy bust, it's a bronze bust, and they have different attributes. So monocles or smoking pipes. I think with those animal characteristics, we get a lot of people that say it feels very much like Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yeah, Alice in Wonderland. That's what you had just told me. Yeah, I was telling you right before we started that it reminds me a lot of like Narnia or something. With these talking animals that are very refined. I like the word that I was using too. So yeah, it's fun, but you've got like your shirt. It's like the black and white. You can see the logo on your sleeve, but you have like these highlights of like pinks and then the animals and things as well. So
absolutely.
One of our friends gave you a little addition that you put in the bathroom. You want to give a little shout out about that little addition? Yeah. The pub will take donations to contribute to their art.
Yeah, with that art. So when we were creating our brand, we found those busts, like I had said, that came from a Utah local company called Emmy James. They're pretty incredible. And then we found these other portraits that worked really well with those. They're pictures of animals in Victorian outfits.
Yeah. It's like I picture like the kind of pictures you see in Harry Potter, but they're animals.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's definitely kind of the look of it. So our friends at Ganashed I'm not even sure where they were. They were at some sort of a market or
I can't remember what
something
she said,
like that. And they're like, we found the best thing ever. We saw it and thought of you and had to bring it. But it's a picture of a reindeer sitting on a toilet, like reading a newspaper.
Yeah.
And so it was just like fun and quirky. And so during the month of December, absolutely, you can find it hanging in the bathroom at the pub.
I can't remember. I think my wife and I went to the pub and I had to use the restroom and I walked in there and I just started chuckling because I'm like, oh, there's Mirren's donation to the pub or gift to the pub.
It was super thoughtful.
Yeah, it was fun to I was going to say mix it up, but add to the flair, mixing it up during the Christmas holiday season.
Absolutely. Yeah, it made it really fun.
So the pub the previous owners, it was more of like a fast casual style, right? You'd go in, you would do your order almost like going, well, not exactly Cafe Rio, but maybe I'll let you go in the description of kind of what the model was when you went in and maybe tell us how that's changed and what your vision for that has been and why some of those changes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a large determining factor for us in purchasing the restaurant is we really believed in the food. The food was fresh and it provided flavors that weren't available in Cedar City. And so we really believed in that. We felt that if we came in and gave the experience that the food deserved or the food warranted, that we would really have a standout place. So when we purchased it last May, it was counter service. That's how the pastry pub operated. It's how the pub craft kitchen operated. But we felt like it needed to go a step beyond. And so we kept counter service through October of last year. Most of the team stayed with us. We didn't want to send anyone into a dizzy trying to figure out new systems. We just wanted to get through the summer and we wanted to learn the system ourselves. We wanted to learn it before we changed it and potentially messed it up.
That's usually my approach on things when you step in new is like, see how things are functioning, because there may be cool things you didn't realize that were going on that might work well with the vision that you have to take it, right?
Absolutely. So middle of October, when we thought it was going to slow down, we transitioned to table service.
When you thought it was going to slow down, yeah.
It still stayed fairly busy, but it's been an amazing change. It really complements the food so much more. Both Barry and I are service snobs. We feel like service is a large part of what makes a dining experience. From the waiter or waitress being able to romance the food, and I think more importantly, being able to make the guest feel special. And so it's been a lot of fun because we've been able to attract really incredible employees that are able to kind of see that mission in making people feel special and feel like they're someone when they come and have dinner at the pub or lunch.
Yeah. Well, that's why I always wear my blazer. Whatever. I'm just teasing. When you said make them feel special in service, I thought of the classic phrase. Well, when you said how did you say it? We're service snobs. Yeah. I thought, instead of service with a smile, it's service with a monocle. Yeah. I'm still a smile though. Right.
Well, and I think like with that, it's not, we don't want service to feel stuffy. We just want service to make people feel important.
Yeah.
When we bought the business, kind of a big driving force for us is for employees and customers. We wanted everyone who walked through the door to feel important, to feel seen, and to feel special. I think that's hard in life sometimes to really feel like you fit in or to feel like you belong somewhere. So like one of the best compliments we ever received is this lady came in, was from out of town and said, I'm not a person who really has a lot of money, but I can come here and I feel like I'm special. I feel like I'm treated like a queen. And to me, that was one of the best compliments that we could have received, because that's kind of what it's all about, is giving that experience.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was getting at too. When I said, it was like, it's a refined flair, I mean, you're saying quirky, but yeah, like kind of feel like, it's got some quirky things about it, but it feels, it's fun and dignified to go into, but
absolutely. And there's something unique and special about our restaurant too, is there's something at every price point. You can come in and enjoy a half a salad that's $8. So at the lower, like kind of entry level price point, someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of money can come in and enjoy that and feel special. Whereas
that's probably what I'm doing for lunch today, by the way. I need a salad. But.
And they're huge. The salads are really big. Yeah. But if you have a little more to spend, or if you want to celebrate something, we have ribeyes, or we have baseball cut fillets from Neiman Ranch. So we have something for everyone. We don't want to target a specific group. We really want to open our doors to everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I do want to dive more into your menu and some other things, but before that, I'm going to take us on a long digression about Jaden. Now, Jaden, you're from the Cedar City area, right? You grew up here originally?
Yep, I was born and raised in Cedar City.
Born and raised in Cedar City, and I won't have you claim your age or anything like that. So, but how has the historic downtown seen the dynamic of the historic downtown and tourism and some of these things, watching it grow as a kid? And I don't know that I'm getting at any one thing. I'm curious what comes to your mind as I mention that, you growing up in Cedar City and seeing some of the growth that's happened here and some of the progression that's happened here, with the Shakespeare Festival right pretty much across diagonal from you guys, like the new buildings and all these things. Anyways, wherever you want to go with that, what's some of the thoughts you've had as you've watched Cedar City kind of grow and expand? We're no longer really the classic kind of rural Cedar City proper. We're more of just kind of a transitional rural, really coming to our own now.
Absolutely. I remember downtown as a child always thinking that it was so magical. I remember when they went through and redid all of the sidewalks and started adding the flowers and all the Christmas decor. It was always just a really special place with different fun stores. Yeah. I moved away for a while and I came back about 10 years ago. I had moved to Atlanta to go to school. And when I came back, I think is when I saw a large part of that change on Center Street. After Centro had opened, it's like, whoa, Cedar has a cool restaurant.
Yeah, Central Pizza. Yeah, and it's right next to you guys too.
Right next to us. They have great products. Like the food is delicious. They have great service. They have great atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of, in my opinion, the kind of start to that new look and feel of downtown, giving downtown an experience. And then not long after that, the winery opened up across the street. So it was starting to feel more like this, experience, so to say.
Yeah.
That
semi-bougie, but not entirely.
Yeah, absolutely. And then how long has it been now that the new Beverly Center has been open? 5?
Yeah, I want to say it's like 5 years. Or so.
And I think that just kind of brought it full circle. You have all of downtown is really special. To me, Center Street's always held a special place in my heart. I feel like Center Street kind of holds that vision of what Cedar is becoming or has potential to become.
Right.
Just because there's so much culture as far as food and beverage and entertainment and all of those things.
Well, I'm going to throw a big curveball at you, and you can pass if you want to, I guess. But growing up in Cedar, what were some of your, and maybe even now, what are some of your favorite things to do around here?
Ooh, what do I love about Cedar? Or what did I love and what do I love? I think our favorite things to do. Give me just a second to think. I think the nice thing about Cedar City is there's something for everybody. We have beautiful parks that you can go and hang out at. I think the Canyon Park is stunning with the streams running down it. There are the trails that you can go walk up and enjoy. Even if you're not overly athletic, they're leisurely enough that
you don't have to be a hardcore hiker.
Absolutely. That anyone can enjoy it. You can go a little further up the canyon and get a little more of an intense walk or run in. I think there are incredible dining spots here in town, places that you can go and feel comfortable, get good flavors. I think one of my favorite things about Cedar is the people. People here are really nice. They're very open and very welcoming. So being able to connect with those people is a fun thing to do. And I think it's nice that it's so centrally located too. So even if you need a little bit more, you're close enough to other places that you can get a little bit more. You can go up to Bryan Head, kind of cool off a little bit. You can go to Kolob. In just 15 minutes, you get spectacular views of Zion.
Right.
So there's really something for everyone. You can take leisurely drives. You can go on walks. You can do a little bit of everything.
So, as a business owner, especially with tourists coming through, you always get the question of what should I do or where should I go? What's something neat that I should see? What are maybe recommendations when customers come in? If they ask that question, what are some of the top things you typically recommend to people?
So I love pointing people downtown. I think downtown is special. It's beautiful. People that work in the shops are very nice. You can get an ice cream cone at Bullock's at their old soda fountain, walk up the street, walk inside Hunter Cowan, check out Clark and Linford. Go check out Front Porch Twing, get an amazing brownie at Ganashed. Then make a turn down Center. You can go to Park Place, have incredible crepes, stop in at the winery, have a glass of wine or a cocktail. Really, Bristlecone or both Bristlecone and The Grind have great coffee. It's a fun place to spend an afternoon, just enjoying a leisurely stroll, spending time with your friends and family. And I mentioned this on one of the previous podcasts recently of someone said, I wish our downtown was closer to the freeway so more people would not just stop at like the fast food. I don't mind that it's not any closer to the freeway just for the, so we don't have the noise of the freeway. But I see what they meant in that our historic downtown is such a little gem to show off. And when you were talking about like holiday lighting, and I've said this on the podcast before, it just reminds me of one of those cheesy Hallmark movies. And I say cheesy actually in a positive way because it almost seems surreal during the holiday season when we have these little events going on and you just, you expect to turn around and see two people just fall in love, Absolutely.
I'm being corny here. But the lighting on all the trees, which is actually year round. And then they add more during the holiday season. So that's a lot of fun to be, we do, Love Where You Live for, campaign for the, Valentine's, time of year. And so there's a lot of those cool things to kind of, I guess, go and do and see when you're here. One thing that I really did want to digress into, and I hope to make this a longer digression, is you worked for IG Winery. Were you the manager, general manager?
Yep, I was the general manager there.
How long were you at IG Winery?
I was with IG for 5 years. 5
years. Okay. One of my favorite things that you told me about when you were talking about, well, actually, this ties in with your service snob thing, because maybe this is the vision I get, is when you told me about the wine tasting and you got all these certifications. I just had this picture of, maybe this is too much of a stereotype, someone holding a wine glass with their pinky in the air kind of a thing. But it was fascinating when you told me previously about what you had to go through. And so I actually, if you don't mind, can you indulge us and tell us a little bit about the process and what exactly that certification was, like wine tasting certification? It just blew my mind. It's something I never even knew really existed. I just picture guys like on, those TV shows where they swish the wine in their mouth and they spit it out to clear the palate or whatever. Yeah. Tell us about that. What is that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I started at the winery, I knew nothing about wine. I tell people I was a sorority girl that liked Barefoot Moscato. Like that was my wine level. I knew nothing.
That's great.
But as I said before, I'm a service snob, and I feel like a large part of giving great service is being knowledgeable in what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. People can read you when you're being fake, but when you're being sincere and telling the truth, they can feel that.
Right.
And so to me, that was something that was really important. So in wine, you can go through a couple of different accreditations. You can go through the Court of Psalms, or you can go through the Wine and Spirit Education Trust. That's the one that I took. And so I worked my way up to a level 3. And
are those both like international organizations?
They are. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, the Wine and Spirit Education Trust is based out of London. Okay. I'm not sure where the Court of Psalms is. Court of Psalms is more like service driven.
Oh, okay.
So you're working in a restaurant. The Wine and Spirit Education Trust is more marketing driven. So you're like selling wine, things like that.
So you made it up to level 3. How many levels are there?
There are 4 through the Wine and Spirit Education Trust.
Oh, wow.
So
tell us about getting to that level 3. What are some of the things you got to do? And then I'll quiz you more after that.
Keep quizzing me.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is knowing about the basics of wine, kind of what creates wine, where it comes from. That's kind of your entry. So that first level, it's basic wine regions, kind of the basic wines and what flavors you can expect from them, and an intro into pairing with what wines you can pair with what food to get what product.
Kind of like, it reminds, sorry for the lame comparison, but like Ratatouille. You ever see that movie?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you're a Disney fan. Yeah. Where he's like, try these two together. And you think it's ridiculous, but then you eat it and you're like, whoa.
It's 100% what that is. Level 2 goes deeper into that. So you start to learn more about different wine regions and why their climates work well with different varietals of wine, or why they're capable of growing different grapes and the flavors that those produce. Once you get into level 3, it starts going into the quality of wine, and you start looking at tasting the wine and how long a wine is going to age from looking at it or from tasting it. And then how long you think it will last. Because everyone thinks, wine's going to last forever. Yeah, put it under my bed. It'll be better in 10 years. Right. That's not the case.
Well, I was actually literally thinking of classic wine I've heard in movies, or just people say is like, well, that wine didn't age well or something, right?
Yeah.
So what plays into that?
The tannins play into it. The structure of the wine itself, kind of how it's built. If it has prolonged aging, it can or if it has barrel aging, it can last a little bit longer. The tannins that come from the grapes or the seeds can help extend.
What are tannins?
Tannins are the bitter flavor you get that come from the stem or the seeds.
Oh, really? Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, all of that will play into it. The sweetness of the wine will play into how long it'll last too, if it's a sweet wine or if it's a dry wine. There are a lot of different characteristics that play into it. Even storage. If it's stored in a dark, cool place, it'll last longer. If it's stored in a bright, warm place, it's going to fail a lot quicker.
So when you did your level 3, because you have to do like a test, right? Didn't you have to do some sort of taste testing?
Yeah, so I had to do a taste testing.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So the taste testing, the Wine and Spirit Education Trust that I went through, they want to have you have an unbiased opinion on wine based on its label. And so I could have tasted a $2 bottle, or I could have tasted a $500 bottle.
Oh, yeah.
But they want you to break it down by its characteristics, not by the label. So I had no idea what I was tasting. I tasted a white and a red and had to go over its color. I had to go over its smell. I had to go over its taste. How long, if the wine should be consumed now or if it needs to be consumed later. How long it has before it's no longer good. Those were kind of the things that you were looking at as you were doing that tasting.
Interesting. So tell us about the wines that you tasted. Do you recall like some of the things and that you had to describe? Or
I remember the white pretty vividly because it was a Sauvignon Blanc. You didn't have to guess what the wine was. They didn't want you to guess. They just wanted you to look at those characteristics. But I do remember that I tasted the Sauvignon Blanc for my white.
Do they have you like tell them anything specific? Like, was there something specific about that wine where you're like, oh, this is not quite ready, or this is probably 5 years old, or anything like that? I'm totally naive. So you tell me.
No, you're good. It was a wine that was ready to be consumed then and probably only had another year or two before it would be past its prime.
Really? So all the time you hear people talking about, well, this wine's from 1950, yada, yada, yada. I mean, is that just a bunch of baloney, or is there stuff behind that as well?
No, I think that when you get into those higher levels, like Master Somm from the Court of Somms, I think those people have real talent, a real gift to be able to taste those things and know the vintage or know what vineyard it was grown in and what side of the hill because of the little nuances. But their palates are so refined for them to be able to do that.
So you didn't have to say, this one comes from the East Hills of Italy or anything like that.
I can just tell you probably what it is and if it's good or not. I have a long way to go.
So do you have aspirations? I assume that's the level 4, right?
Level 4.
Do you have aspirations to still kind of pursue that, even though you're not at IG anymore?
Do you know what? With the restaurant, I think that that's a big part of having the restaurant. So the pastry pub never had alcohol. When it became the pub craft kitchen, they added a limited license. So they were able to offer wine and beer. But for the two of us, whenever we go and have a dining experience, we want to have a cocktail. Yeah, or a glass of wine or something like that with it. And so we added a full restaurant license. And so to me, it's important that my staff becomes trained in being able to talk about those things or be able to make suggestions. I'm going to have this sandwich. What would you recommend with it? And so I think eventually I would like to go and get my 4, but until
that'd be so cool.
It would be really cool to be able to offer that. But until then, I want to work with my staff at building up their knowledge so that they can offer that. But then also with our full restaurant license, having cocktails, I think it would be fun to go and explore kind of the nuances of tequila or bourbon or different drinks like that, because all of those different things have a story behind them. Yeah. And when that story is told, it makes it really powerful and a neat experience.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fascinating. So I don't drink, but there's such a cool history, like with wines. And thank you. That was actually a perfect segue, which is exactly where I wanted to go, is how that, and I actually want to carry that conversation more, how working at IG Winery is kind of influencing what you're doing at the pub and how you're kind of pairing both those worlds. Kind of like you talked about the 2 previous ownerships of the pub, how you've paired both those worlds. It's been very apparent to me how you've taken the mix of all these worlds that you've kind of seen or been involved with and put them together to make the product and the service that you're providing right now, right?
Yeah.
But that's funny when you mentioned bourbon. Bourbon is a type of whiskey, right?
Correct.
Okay. I remember, so I'm a big runner, and I remember there was a female marathoner that won a race, and I think it's the Boston Marathon, and one of the news reporters said, "Well, Des, what are you going to do? You gonna have a bourbon or a whiskey?" And she's like, I can't remember, the reporter's name is like Bob or something, Jim. And she's like, "Those are the same thing, Jim." It cracked me up. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're good.
You got to know your distinctions and your differences,
Absolutely.
right? Because I think the distinction with bourbon is where it's made, right?
Correct.
It comes from Louisville or something, right? Louisville. I was just there recently, so maybe that's why it's percolating in my brain. But is that the only distinction, or is there do you know?
I think there are flavor characteristics as well, but it's a large part of it comes from where it's produced.
Yeah, which is fascinating in and of itself. So, well, okay, great. Well, let's talk about since you kind of dove into it already. Let's talk about well, where do I want to go with that? Because you've already kind of covered some of it. I wanted to really talk about how your pairings. Well, maybe why don't we do that? So with your menu, let's talk about your menu and then some of those recommendations that you said some people will ask, and based on some of the menu items that you guys provide, what kind of wines or drinks you would recommend with those types of things, and maybe go into why. Let's just dive into a few of those.
Yeah. So like I said, when we took over the restaurants to provide that experience, we applied for a full restaurant license.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is we're able to do beer, wine, and cocktails and spirits with our food.
Mm-hmm.
With that, it was important to us to have a really diverse range as far as cocktails. Some places you'll go and everything kind of tastes the same.
Mm-hmm.
And so we wanted to make sure that we had a bunch of different flavors. And so we got pretty creative. We've got some fun, unique drinks. We have a take on Shirley Temple. It's our Bloody Shirley. We love to travel. And so we took some of our traveling influence into that. We're obviously big Disney fans. In Disney World, there is an Epcot. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the Tequila Cave or something like that. But it was an avocado margarita that we thought was delicious. Huh. And so we came home and created our spicy avarita. So it's blended avocado and cucumber with a jalapeno infused tequila and triple sec. So it's kind of like a super juice.
Okay.
It's got a fun texture. We have peanut berry and Jaden is what we call it. So it's a
okay. I am not going to forget that.
It's a peanut butter and jelly, old fashioned. I love a Negroni, so we took a twist on a Negroni and added a little bit of amaretto to it to cut the bitterness. So we've got what do I call it? A pubgroni is what the name of that is. But we've got a little bit of something for everything. And I think something that's kind of fun about that is we felt like that was an opportunity in Cedar City because there weren't a lot of places to go and have good foods and good drinks together.
Yeah. I remember asking you when you're at IG Winery if you worked with some of the local restaurants to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we're really excited about that. Kind of something that we have coming up in the pipeline is we're going to tear out the old counter where you used to order food from.
Thank you.
And there will now be a sit down bar. So you'll be able to come in and sit down, have a drink before your meal, whether that's a cocktail or a mocktail. Like I said, we want everyone to feel important, seen, and welcome. So in addition to our cocktails, we also have incredible mocktails. I think, unfortunately, a lot of the times in Utah, when you ask for a mocktail, it's just juice with a little bit of grenadine.
Oh, yeah.
These are actually crafted mocktails
like
that
fun drinks.
Yeah, have different flavors and profiles to them.
Yeah.
They come out in pretty cups too, so that you feel just as special as someone getting a cocktail.
Well, let's put it in for our locals. Let's put it in terms for them. Picture swig, a fancy swig drink, non-alcoholic, but it's got cool little mixes and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably the best way to
absolutely
help locals that maybe don't drink understand kind of what that is.
Yeah, absolutely. We have 3 mocktails. So we have a Shirley Temple. So with that, we're going to take fresh lime juice and lemon juice. And then we have these incredible Bing cherries that we'll blend and puree and add to that with a little bit of sparkling water and some agave syrup. We have a desert pear that's going to be that desert pear flavor with mint and sparkling water. It's nice and refreshing, perfect for summer. Or we have a pub frappe that's going to be a coffee-based mocktail. Okay. It's like dessert.
So are you back when you build the counter? Are you going to be back there like one of those cool guys that flip the bottle and do all the things and pour it over your arm?
If I need to in a rush, I can step back there and help out. But I'll let our bartenders.
So I was going to ask that. So talk about your staff. Like how many bartenders do you have, and then maybe talk about your wait staff. And things.
Yes. So right now we have 2 bartenders. Obviously, with the changes that we have coming up, we're actively hiring more. But I think I kind of hit on it before. Our staff is really incredible. They are the reason that the pub has become what it's become. I believe that the secret to success in any business is creativity and allowing employees to be creative. I think without that, you start to become stagnant and you start to feel like you're doing the same thing day in and day out. And so I'm big for allowing my team to be creative. They come up with the drink specials. They come up with the food specials. And I give them full reign to do that. because I trust them and know that they can, well, a lot of times do better than I can.
Yeah. Well, what I hear you saying when you say creativity is you have to have autonomy to be able to be creative, right?
Absolutely.
Like, in order to be creative, you have to have some autonomy to think outside of here's your role, fill that, check that box, right? I remember, this is really dumb of me, bad comparison, but I remember I worked at a sit down like pizza joint, pasta, things like that in college. And one of our cooks' name was Bob. And we created what we called the Bob Dita, which was like a Italian sandwich or whatever. And maybe I don't know why we ripped off like Taco Bell's Gordita, but we put Bob and Gordita together. But that sandwich, occasionally over the years, none of my friends have ordered it recently in recent years that I can think of. But gosh, it was probably like 15 years after that. Occasionally one of us would go back to that restaurant and someone there still knew how to make that special sandwich that was exactly what we had created. But it was like a behind the scenes like order. I don't know what you would call that in the restaurant business and stuff, but yeah, it was fun. And to have that but we weren't allowed that creativity there. We just kind of did it behind the scenes on our own. We had to kind of like side special order it. And if the waiters knew one of the cooks who knew how to make it, that's how we got away with it. Right. So anyway, sorry to digress on that, but
no, not at all.
love that you give the staff the creativity to do that. Are your specials weekly? Talk about that.
Yeah, so we do weekly specials. So typically they'll change. They'll be released on Tuesdays and then they'll run through the following Monday.
Okay.
When we bought the restaurant, it was just kind of here and there. And I'm like, we need to streamline this a little bit more because I think they would have like 2 or 3 available. So people would see it and come in and not be able to get it. So we wanted something that would last a week.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
So typically we'll have a special pasta, we'll have a special burger, and we'll have a special salad, maybe a sandwich thrown in there too. But the team comes up with all of those. They get to name them. They get to create the dishes. And I think it's fun because it keeps the restaurant fresh as well. Instead of becoming stagnant, people can come in and try something new that they've never tried before. That'll only be there for that limited time.
Okay. So I'm going to have you list me a couple things. I'm going to go 2 different angles. First, I'm going to have you list your 3 favorite dishes, not what you think people should eat, but your 3 favorite dishes. Describe them and tell me what drink you would pair with each dish.
Okay.
So give me top 3.
All right. So
I'm really putting the heat on.
The heat is on. Let's see. So my favorite is our Asian crunch salad. So salads at the pub are really incredible. We believe in fresh produce. So we have a team member that comes in every morning at 7:00 and she cuts fresh produce. She'll cut fresh lettuce. We don't believe in bagged lettuce. It doesn't taste as good as fresh and it doesn't smell. It's a total sensory experience.
Right. Yeah.
And so with this salad, you get these fresh greens that are crisp and super flavorful. We have a crunch mix that is crunched up ramen noodles with peanuts and sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds and a Farouk seasoning in it. So it's got incredible textures. It has chicken served with it, slaw, and then we have this amazing Asian sesame dressing. So it's just full of flavor and it's incredible.
Yeah.
That I'd go a glass of wine. I'd keep it simple. Pair it with a glass of Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
Let's see. Bob's your uncle.
I love this. I love this name, by the way. Hey, you have a menu item with Bob in it. That makes my story even more fun. Okay.
So full disclosure, when we bought the restaurant, we're like, this is the stupidest name we have ever heard. This is so dumb. What does that even mean? And then we looked into it and found out that Bob's your uncle is a British term meaning, and there you have it. And there it is.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, that is super cute. So now the menu says a British term meaning this with the description.
Way to educate the public as well. Yeah.
So that they're not, this is a dumb name. And everyone remembers that name. It's not usually Bob's your uncle. They're like, I want Uncle Bob or Bob's something.
I usually gravitate to what people might think of as the dumb name because I'm like, That's hilarious. They just named that. Anyways, keep going.
The name is awesome. But
Describe Bob's Your Uncle.
It's a cream-based penne pasta that's going to have chicken in it with tomatoes and then a balsamic glaze. The flavors in it are just unreal. They are so good.
I did have this one. Yeah. It's great.
It's one of our top-selling dishes. It's just full of flavor and incredible. But with that Bob's Your Uncle, I would pair that with the pub grody. You've got two flavors that are strong enough to compete against each other. What is my other favorite dish? Really, I always tell people when they ask me what my favorite thing is, I say I'm the wrong person because I like everything. I think everything's great.
Yeah. My wife's one of those, well, what do you like? I'm like, well, they probably like it all. You know, what are they going to say?
Absolutely. Another fun one that's really good. So when we went table service, we added a dinner menu. We felt like we needed to kind of up the ante by serving table service. And so one of our fun dishes is our hot honey kettle crusted chicken breast.
Oh, wow.
And so if you've ever been to the pub, we have our kettle chips that come with all of our sandwiches. By the time you get to the bottom of the tub, a lot of those had become smashed. And so we smashed those up a little bit more. We bread a chicken breast, fry it, and then we serve that with a house-made hot honey.
Wow. Okay.
It's delicious. It's full of flavor.
What was that one called again?
It's the hot honey kettle roasted chicken breast.
Okay, keep describing. It's full of flavor.
Full of flavor. It's juicy. And then the kettle crust is super fun too. It's very unique and different. So you get a little more flavor than you would just a typical breading.
Yeah.
Because it's broken up potato chips.
Yeah.
So
you're making me so hungry right now. What would you pair that one with?
That one's really good. For that one, how would I go with that? Trying to think. We have a new drink coming out called the Posh Pear. It's going to be a white pear Negroni. So that's really good drink that would be delicious with that hot honey. It's the softer like fruit flavors would kind of tone down that hot honey flavor and pair really well.
Okay. All right. So the second list, and you might feel like, they're all the same, Dave. But I had you do your favorites first for a reason. If somebody comes in, you always get the question, like I just said, my wife said, what do you recommend? But it's hard to recommend because every person's completely different where their palate's at, how hot they want something, or, do they want something hearty or they want something light, those kinds of things. So with this list, along with the pairing, you kind of did this in your first list too, but what are maybe 3 other things that you would say that kind of highlight the variety of what's on your menu? What are 3 other dishes you would recommend and what pairings with those?
Perfect. So other pairings that I'd recommend, our Chipotle sandwich is delicious. So it comes on our signature cheese bagel. We talked about this with the pastry pub. There are bagels that are made in-house daily. We plug the center. And so it's a full bagel with melted cheese on top of that. It's going to come with our ham and turkey, avocado, cream cheese, and then it also has our Chipotle spread on it. Oh. So it's super fresh. All of our sauces are made in-house. We don't use just regular mayo or mustard. You can get those if you want them.
Sure.
But those house sauces are really incredible. So that Chipotle sandwich is delicious. It's served hot. It's one of all of our patrons' favorite dishes.
All right. I'm trying to think if I've tried this one.
Oh, the Chipotle is incredible. And you have to do it on that cheese bagel.
Okay.
It's really
I remember
good.
That. Yeah.
Our
key.
Burgers are delicious. So our bacon cheeseburger is really good. All of our burgers are steak patties.
You have some good classic American style.
We do. Yeah. We've got something for everyone. So those steak patties, with those, you get more flavor. They're less greasy. And they're just incredible. They're packed full of flavor. So it's going to be 2 patties with bacon served on a brioche bun. So a lot of flavor coming through in that. I think it's an incredible burger that everyone loves. And you can either build a burger up or build a burger down. Yeah. We have just a simple 2 patties, lettuce, tomato, and your bun, or you can add pastrami and pub cheese to that and make it as heavy as you want it to be.
Yeah. So, we forgot. What do we pair with that Chipotle sandwich first? And then what would you pair with the burger?
Oh, with the Chipotle, I'd probably go we can go a mocktail. So we'd go our desert pear with that. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it or refreshing. So it'll cut some of the heat from.
Oh, there you go.
From that Chipotle.
Okay. I'm going to have to remember that. Chipotle with which one?
The desert pear.
Desert pear. Okay. I'm going to have to give that a whirl.
Yes.
So, and then the burger?
And then the burger, let's see. I'm not a big beer fan, but.
I was going to say most people, I don't drink, but most people are like, a beer with a burger. Duh.
Yeah. You could put, we've got Blue Moon on tap. You could put a Blue Moon with that and it would be perfect.
You sound like a wine guy. I'm not a beer fan.
Yeah, I've tried. I cannot get into it. And then another fun thing, our next step, it's all been an evolution in building our menu. Mm-hmm. And so our next step is we're doing a permanent brunch menu that's available Saturday and Sunday mornings.
You're hitting a lot of my questions. I wanted to get into that because you mentioned wanting to do brunch earlier. Okay, go ahead.
We're getting there. So one of the fun brunch items that we have is chicken and waffles. It's
classic Southern.
Yeah, classic Southern. It'll have the grape jelly to really make it Southern. But with that's fun because it's that same kettle crusted chicken breast served with a homemade waffle. Delicious syrup, the grape jelly. If you're from the South or have been to the South, you'll understand that. If not, you'll have to try it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
With that, you could pair it with either the pub frappe or we have our mochattini. That's kind of a cold brew desserty drink. Okay. People love that. I think I remember we posted a picture of it and someone said, "My Roman Empire," or something like that. It's a pretty drink. It comes in a fluted coupe glass and it has a house-made chocolate whip on top of it. So it's beautiful, but it also is really tasty.
Sounds like something to clear the palate a little bit there. That's what I always joke about. I like dark chocolate. Every time I eat something savory or whatever, I always get a square of dark chocolate. I'm going to clear the palate.
Little palate refresh.
Yeah, that's right. You also have something, I don't think this is what you call it. Do you have something like, they're like nacho fries or something?
Oh, yes. So absolutely our frichos.
It is frichos. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Describe the frichos. That's a what will I call it? That's a fan fave. We'll throw out there.
Absolutely. The frichos. So the fries at the pub are really unique. They're all spiral cut fries. With them though, it's not like your Arby's fry that's like the thin kind of shoelace spiral.
It's more like a wedge cut spiral, right?
Yes. Yeah. They're super thick and then they're coated so that they hold their crunch, they hold the heat. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what makes them so great in those frichos is they stay crispy.
You coat them in like seasoning or what's the coating?
Yeah, well, so it's like a flour based it's a special flour based coating.
Like a batter.
Yeah, batter on there.
Yeah, okay.
But with that, so we'll smother it in a 3-cheese blend. We'll do our pub cheese, which is a beer cheese, essentially. Your choice of chicken or beef.
Yeah.
Tomatoes, green chilies, jalapenos, and then our chipotle crema on top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. People love those frichos.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now where I want to go is you talked a little bit about this before, but you're creating the bar area and you were actually one of, and I wasn't on the selection committee just to make sure that it's clear there's no conflict of interest or any of that kind of stuff. But Iron County, we have a small business grant that we do every year, and any small business in the county can apply. This year, I think we had 47 applications, and we only had $60,000 to distribute. I think it was, and we narrow those 47 down to 20, and then those 20 are narrowed down to like 7 to 10 that go in and present to our Iron County or board or members of our Iron County Economic Development Board. And then from those top businesses, those presentations, that board chooses how to distribute grant funding for different projects. And your bar expansion is part of that. And the intent, and maybe I should be clear, the intent of that small business grant is to help businesses not to just replace old equipment, but it's to help them expand and create a synergy and a ripple effect, not only for their business, but perhaps the surrounding area or other businesses with them. And your proposal was hands down from the committee, the selection committee, from the presentations, one of the faves. and you were just awarded. And remind us how much you're awarded and how much is going toward that.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was an awesome opportunity that we're super grateful for, that the county would do that. So it's a dollar for dollar match. And so we were awarded $15,000 to go to our $30,000 budget towards the project.
Now tell us, pretend you're giving your presentation, tell our audience the vision of the bar and what you'd like to incorporate. You can talk about the practical, and you can and also dive into the aesthetics, like the look and feel that you're going for and what you're trying to achieve. Yeah.
So a large part, it kind of breaks it into two parts. So functionality wise, it's going to make everything a lot more functional. Right now, all of our alcohol is kind of made back in the kitchen area, or all of our drinks are made in the kitchen area. We have a tiny little counter, and so it kind of slows everything down quite a bit. In addition, our cold food, so our salads, our sandwiches, are all made outside in the front, behind where that bar is now. So it kind of creates this difficulty in both the cold and the hot, that communication is limited as far as, hey, I am firing these burgers, start those salads, or whatnot. So you don't have food sitting and dying as you're waiting for one or the other to be done. So functionality wise, it's going to streamline both processes. It's going to get both food areas back together so that there's better communication, and food will be coming out even more fresh than it already does. But then it also opens up that bar area so that there's more room for our bartenders to work. On weekend evenings, we get a lot of drink orders coming through. And when we have that limited space, it can kind of delay those or make it so they're not going out as quickly as they should. So this opens all of that up. We can get more bartenders in there so that they can serve more and make drinks quicker. But visually, it also totally changes the restaurant.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about. And that's what most people are going to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think most people see the name pub and they come in, they're like, oh, there's not a bar.
Yeah, I joked that adding a bar will actually fit the name now, right?
It'll actually be what people see as a pub now.
Yeah.
So
but it'll still be a sit-down restaurant, just so everybody's clear. It's somewhere where you can bring your family to come eat and things like that.
Absolutely. It just extends, or it changes the opportunity for people to come in. That entire area, so the back part is going to be a sit-down bar where you can sit down, have a drink before your meal. Or have your meal there at the counter. We are registered as a bar in Utah, or as a restaurant in Utah. If you're not familiar with Utah laws, that means you do have to consume food. You can't just come in and have a drink. You do have to consume. So that all stays the same, but that front area is going to be more of kind of a loungy little area. We'll have soft seating where people can sit down and do small bites and either cocktails or mocktails with wine and beer. So it opens up our seating area. We're able to increase our seating by about 30 seats is what we're envisioning, which is great because on, like I said, those busier times, there's nowhere and there's a pretty decent wait. So it helps us to be able to serve more customers and get more people into our restaurant and bring more people downtown.
Well, and when you describe that, I'm picturing like the cool little restaurants in downtowns when I was in Louisville, or I've been in New Orleans, or you know, well, maybe not Vegas, but some of these cool places, St. Louis, other really cool places that you go, Minneapolis, and you at least for me, I always try to find the cool little and dives, maybe not the right word, but it's how most people describe it, like the cool little local dive, right? You go in and there's just cool dining. I love live music. I always hunt for a place that has live music. Just cue that if you ever have an opportunity. And there's typically, the bar on the side where people, maybe there's a couple of friends or a group or just individuals that want to just go sit down, enjoy the music. I always feel bad when I'm traveling on my own and I go to a place and I take up a table, when maybe I could sit, like I said, even though I don't drink, I could sit at the bar, get some food and just kind of take in the atmosphere. That's what I love, the synergy and the atmosphere and the ambiance, you know, for lack of a better way of phrasing it. But
absolutely, it definitely creates a different energy. I think regardless of if you drink or don't drink, just being able to watch the shaker being shaken adds that synergy.
That's what I was saying. Like the bartender's flipping the bottles and it's fun. Yeah. And then, you know, and like I said, when there's live music, it just hits it up even further. But I love actually the music that you guys play. It's like every time I go in there, it's like classical style, but you're like, why do I know this song? You're like, wait a minute. That was Red Hot Chili Peppers in the classical style. You know, I don't know what this station is that you guys play, but it's great.
Yeah. When we built our brand, we kind of took a little influence from Bridgerton. Okay. And so we have a lot of the music that we play is from Vitamin String Quartet. So they'll do those string covers of new songs. Yeah. So you can be sitting there. It could be Eminem. It could be Mariah Carey. It could be anyone.
And sometimes the tempo throws me off because they'll like slow it down or speed it up. And I'm like, why do I know this song? It's a love-hate thing because I hate it when I know a song, but I can't figure out what it is. But it's fun because it keeps me, I don't know.
It's fun too because it is something for everybody. It's in a style where, like I said, if you like Eminem, there's something for you. Or if you like Elton John, there's going to be some Elton John mixed in there, or the Beatles. Yeah. Or new people like Lady Gaga. It could be anyone. Yeah. Again, refined flair. I love it. It's just the way I like it. Okay. There was something else too a couple things that I really wanted to get into. Where was I going to go? Let's see. We talked about the bar, the new like addition, the aesthetics. Timeline on the bar. And when that remodel part's going to be done, when can people expect to be able to come and enjoy that aspect of it? So we're hoping to get started in the next couple of weeks and then have it completed by the 1st of April, if not maybe the middle of April. Okay, cool. But within the next month and a half, we're hoping to have it all done. Okay, and you've already got all your contracting lined out and all that stuff. Yep. We've got it all ready to go. Get the pick and axe or whatever you need. No, I'm just being a smart aleck. Oh, that's awesome. Do you think with your specials, both the food and the drink side, that after the bar is instituted, you're going to do more, or are you going to kind of maintain the same kind of weekly specials or any kind of other flares you're going to, I guess, or changes you might do with that? Yeah, I think they'll stay weekly. I think a big perk of having the bar is you'll be able to sit there in front of one of our bartenders and be able to talk to them about what you like. So you might not want one of the set drinks on there, but you can tell them, hey, I want something with tequila that's more spirit forward. Oh, and they could create something for you that way. Oh, okay, cool. You can tell I'm not a bar hopper or anything like that, or mocktail wise, they could do the same thing. Really? The same thing? Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That would be a lot of fun. Well, tell our audience, let's kind of circle back now. Let's keep it in the same vein. Tell our audience what your long-term hope is for the pub, for historic downtown. Well, let's start with the pub. What's your long-term hope on the pub and some of the successes that you've had recently? Yeah. So we feel very fortunate. Cedar City doesn't really love change, but Cedar City has been very accepting of the changes that we've made. We get a lot of really good feedback. So we're super grateful for all of the local support that we have. We get a lot of people that come in weekly and do the specials or just enjoy the experience that they have there. And so with that, we want to keep serving local. We feel like that's the heart of our business. Without that, we won't survive. Yeah. And so our kind of goal or vision is to keep growing the pub. Everything that we do, we're doing kind of slowly but surely. Like I said, we waited a while to go table service. Then we added dinner. Now we're working on the brunch menu. Yeah. So that'll be rolling out. So like long-term goal, we want to just continue making it a cool, fun place. Eventually we'd love to open up the front windows, do maybe some like sliding glass doors or glass garage doors. So you kind of have that outdoor dining. You can open it up. Yeah, absolutely. So design wise, like we have a 5-year plan of what we want to accomplish with that. Yeah. I think I really love Walt Disney's approach to everything with like Disneyland, that it was never done. There was always room to improve. Right. That's how I see the pub, is that it'll constantly evolve for the times and to continue becoming fresh and relevant.
Yeah.
And while still keeping those key components that hold the special place in people's hearts.
Yeah. Yeah. Like some of that nostalgia.
Absolutely.
Things that you have there. Okay. And then tell us what your hope is, because you've been pretty active with downtown with IG Winery and now with the pub. You sit on Cedar City's historic downtown committee, economic development committee, which is separate from the Iron County committee that we talked about that oversees that grant we talked about earlier. This committee, the Cedar City Historic Downtown Committee, is more focused on how do we beautify and create synergy in the downtown area. So from a committee member on that perspective, what are some of your hopes for the downtown area and the historic area?
Yeah, I think for me, my hope for downtown is to continue bringing in businesses that create a draw or create that synergy or energy. Mm-hmm. I think having more dining, more shopping experiences will keep the downtown area alive. I think it's super fun when you drive down the street and there are people dining outdoors, when they're sitting out there taking everything. And we have the most beautiful landscape in the world. Incredible blue, purple, red mountains that surround us.
Yeah.
So being able to take that in with incredible food, I think is amazing. I would love to see more unique shops, more places that are Cedar City built. More places that are one of a kind, unique places to go and enjoy.
Well, when you talk about the outdoor sitting on the sidewalk, outdoor dining, I hadn't thought about this till now. Maybe it's because I'm so accustomed to it, but like you can see the Red Hill and some of these beautiful landscapes just behind us. You can see over, where Shakespeare and everything is. You can walk to it. We've talked about that. And so, yeah, it's a one-of-a-kind experience, not only with the dining and the shopping, but just the atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, to wrap up, tell people on where they can find your physical location, where they can find you online, and anything else you want to throw in.
Yeah. So you can visit us at 86 West Center Street. Like you said before, we're right in the heart of beautiful downtown. You can find us online at thepubcedarcity.com. We're also active on Facebook and Instagram at the Pub Cedar City. So you can stay up to date on all of our specials, new things that we have coming out, and all of that on our social media platforms.
Great. Well, Jaden Reardon with the Pub, Spirits, and Craft Kitchen. I was having a hard time with the intro earlier, so we're gonna finish it with
you got
spot on. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.